Where's the AFC playoff picture? And I'll tie in anything we hadn't talked about here. So the Bengals, of course, Saturday beat the Broncos. That was a wild game, which, of course, kept the Bengals alive. That also kept the Colts and Miami alive, but the Colts screwed that up, as we just talked about, so they're finished now. Miami wins in Cleveland with no Tua, so they're still in the mix. Everyone is clinched except the final spot. Basically, the scenario is, Joe, Broncos win against the Chiefs. They get it. Broncos lose. Miami is next in the door. If they beat the Jets, they would get it. Broncos and Miami lose. The Bengals beat the Steelers. They would get it. If all three of them lose, Joe, the Broncos would hold the card and would stay where they are. Do you expect it to be the Broncos, I would guess, considering it's going to be a Carson Wentz-led Kansas City Chief attack for that game this week?
Yeah, and listen, if I'm Denver, the only thing I want to be able to control my own destiny, right? And you can do that still, Denver, and you have a chance to do it against the backups of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Denver is sitting in the spot you want to be in, as opposed to Miami, of course, and Cincinnati, who the only thing they really control is just beat the teams you have to play and then hope that somebody else doesn't handle business. So I would much rather be Denver, and that's why I thought Denver always knew in the back of their head, once Kansas City beat Pittsburgh on Christmas, you had to win one of the next two games, and you were in. So even if you couldn't get it done this week against Cincinnati, the chances are you'd be at home playing Kansas City's backup. So still got to go out and get it done. You still got a rookie quarterback, but I do think the line is 8.5. Yeah, it's probably going to be double digits.
Yeah, I've seen some weird things in these last weeks of these regular seasons. You've seen some very strange things.
Yep.
And I don't know if I completely trust Denver to win that game. I know I definitely don't trust them to lay 8.5 in that game. That I do know.
Mm-hmm.
That's Chiefs for me. Because when you're as good a team as the Chiefs is, Joe, and I know that their main component isn't going to be out there, that is a winning team. From the first guy to the 55th, 54th, 53rd, 52nd guy. Everyone on that team has that winning feeling. And they're going to get a chance to go in there and show that they can do it too. I'd be very nervous. If it was anyone else, Joe, I'd say probably not a problem. I think the Chiefs makes it scary for Denver in that game. Now, Cincinnati's going to play Saturday night in Pittsburgh. Me and Pharrell were talking about this. He's going to the game. And I said, I hope you got an early enough flight on Saturday because they might move that game to Saturday. And sure enough, they did. It's the late game, so we won't have an issue. The Bengals are favored 1.5 in Pittsburgh on Saturday night. And I know the Bengals are the team everyone wants in. But I think that the path is just a little too hard, Joe, because I'm not sure they're going to get both to happen, Denver and Miami. That seems like a lot to bite off and chew.
And also a pretty big game for Pittsburgh if they have any intentions of actually getting a home game and winning the AFC North here, because if they – and who wants to go into the playoffs losing 4 in a row? Because that's what's at tap here for the Steelers, and it's not going to be a walk in the park. So, this is a huge game for both of these teams. But once again, the Bengals, you got to win this game, and then you got to hope. But if they don't win and the Steelers win, well, then, it's going to make the Denver game even less juicy, so to speak, here when they have to take them on Sunday.
And the Steelers may know their fate, per se, for the division. Obviously, the Ravens are playing that game before them Saturday at 4:30. Ravens win, they'll have the North. I just can't see the Ravens losing this game to Cleveland. They already lost to them once this year. I find it hard to believe they'd lose to them again. But even if they aren't for the division, Joe, I think there's still a very big difference for Pittsburgh going to Houston or going to Baltimore. I think that there's a big difference in those two assignments on Wild Card Weekend. So I think that there's still going to be a lot to play for on the Steelers side of things on Saturday night against the Bengals. NFC is a lot easier, Joe, for me to give you quickly. That's because everybody is in except the winner of the South. South is simple. Bucks win against New Orleans on Sunday, they are win. If they lose, opens the door for Atlanta, who's playing Carolina. Everyone else is in. I do think there is still some seeding things here, Joe. Obviously, we know Lions-Vikings. That can change. I think that Washington can actually jump Green Bay if they win and the Packers lose, but the Packers are playing the Bears, so, we know how that's going to go, Joe. I mean, they're not listening to the Bears. They're not listening to the Bears. No. Malik Willis will beat the Bears if they played him this week. Last thing for you here. Here's the draft order right now, top 10. There it is. New England is at the top. Tennessee, Cleveland, Giants. So the Giants fall from 1 to 4 with their loss yesterday. The Raiders tumbled all the way down to 8 by winning again. The Jets are actually up to, what is that? They're up to 7 now, Joe, the Jets.
Nice.
So they're creeping up the board here a little bit.
You got to love it. Jets could be as high as, 5 or 6? And, boy, that would be fantastic for Rex. I'll say this. It's going to be interesting because I don't see New England, even with backups for Buffalo, I don't see New England winning that game. And then the big question is, all right, if you do get the number 1 draft pick, is Gerard Mayo the coach next year, if that's even the case? If a Mike Vrabel wants to come back, are you picking for Vrabel as the head coach or Gerard Mayo? And it's certainly not going to be a quarterback, though, I can tell you that.
Well, here's how interested New England is in winning this game against Buffalo. Mayo already said this morning that they might not play Drake May because they don't want to risk any long-term injury with him. So that's taking a page out of the Cleveland book with DTR the last few weeks. That's precisely what New England's doing there.